Yo, yo, yo. What's up? What's up? This is episode 129 of the Collective Podcast. I am AC from LA. He is SG Trilogy. And we are live. What's going on, my brother? Hello, 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 hello. How are you? How's it going?
It's Saturday, brother. It's Saturday, and I am happy. You can hear the little baritone going right now, man. Been kind of under the weather this week, but I know that this morning, the Collective Podcast is going to give me that needed pick me up. So good morning, brother. Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you as well. I'm sorry to hear that you've been under the weather. Wetter. It's raining out here, so it's been wetter. But I'm sorry that you've been under the weather, and I hope that you continue to your health continues to improve. Thank you for taking the time out to join us today, SG Trilogy. We definitely didn't want to miss you
New
on
Collective Podcast.
the Collective Podcast. And again, this is episode 129. And again, I'm going to let Sam tell you guys, as always, where you can find us, and then I'll go through the topics. Bam, bam.
All right. Well, we have a saying here at the Collective Podcast that Saturdays are always better when you join the Collective Podcast. So there are a lot of ways that you can remain connected with us throughout the week. And first and foremost, you can check out our official website, thecollectivepodcastofficial.com. On YouTube, we are TC Pod Official. On Facebook, we are TC Podcast Official. On Twitter or X, TC Pod Official. Instagram, we are TC Pod Official. On Instagram, he is AC from LA. And yours truly, I am SG Trilogy. Tap in, tap in, tap in. And as it pertains to our YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend.
Hey, outstanding. Thank you for that, sir. Thank you for that. All right. So today's topics are pretty much what you'd expect, except we have actually added back Major League Baseball. It's still only one announcement like last week, but we went ahead and gave you Major League Baseball as a topic. So we have the NFL, we have NCAA football, as I stated, Major League Baseball, NBA, women's hoops, men's hoops. We're going to go into the culture. I've got a video to share. Sam's going to talk about a couple of projects that were released. We'll go into Tech Talk Now, where I talk about the importance of Wi-Fi calling in home and in the workplace, and then we'll close out. So that's what we have going on today. I'm super excited. I know Sam might be shaking a little bit because I told him I had a hot take on something, and I didn't give him details. And so here we go. You know, it's Christmas time. It's my favorite time of year. And the soul brother number one, James Brown, instructed Santa Claus to go straight to the ghetto, but comma and comma, however, comma.
Santa Claus, go straight to the ghetto. Tell him James Brown sent you.
So here's my question, Mr. Brown, rest in peace. Mr. Brown, why does Santa need to tell everyone in the ghetto that you sent him? Like, everyone in the ghetto already loves you, and everyone in the ghetto is expecting Santa. But why does Santa on this particular Christmas need to say, oh, by the way, so brother number one, James Brown sent me? Just wondering about that. Just wondering, oh, you have, okay, talk about it. Talk about it. Go.
You do realize that the Godfather of Soul has extended that ghetto pass to Santa Claus. So that's the translation, brother.
Oh, okay. So what he was saying was you would otherwise not be welcomed in the ghetto.
Perhaps.
So is
correct the mundo.
So then let's go with that. So is he saying that all the kids that didn't get anything the year before he gave the ghetto pass, it was because James Brown was blocking the blessing?
James Brown had the Godfather of Soul had not extended a ghetto pass. Ghetto passes are needed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Facts. All right. Well, listen. Shout out to the Godfather of Soul. Shout out to Soul Brother Number One. We love James Brown. And yes, we are back. Sam, you were a little under the weather. Anything else you want to share about your week as we get episode 129 going?
Man, you already know what it is, dog. We've talked about it. Man, anytime we are in this holiday time of year, there's nothing but joy. Excuse me. There's nothing but joy, man. So I've been just happy.
Hmm.
I feel like a kid waiting for Christmas to get here and just happy, man. So
Okay.
no, man, everything is good. Under the weather a little bit, but I'm coming back.
That's awesome. And for anybody wondering, even though it is cuffing season, nope, I'm not cuffing. I'm still, still interviewing. So I might make it out of this year, unfortunately, with no cuffs, no cuffing. And believe me, cuffing is a positive thing. I love to cuff. I miss cuffing.
AC from LA.
I know. Episode 129 of the
New
Collective
Collective
Podcast.
Podcast.
We are happy that you are back with us. It's episode 129, and we're gonna start off with the National Football League. We're gonna jump into the league. Um, we had a brief debate. It lasted about 3 seconds where Sam was like, we're not doing that today when he saw me put my hat on. But why don't you guys tell Sam that you are stone cold sick of seeing that little gnome anytime that he talks about the Las Vegas Raiders? Or if you're not sick of seeing it, which is fair, then tell him to leave my hat alone. Because, I don't even have to say anything. We just rock it. So, very briefly, week 15 results of note. San Francisco snuck by the Arizona Cardinals. Fair? Buffalo absolutely dismantled the the Arlington Cowboys. Absolutely dismantled the Arlington Cowboys. 31-10. They talking about no parade. They talking about throw all the gear in the sewer. They talking about what happened to the MVP looking Dak Prescott. What happened to the defense? Very, very confused. This is not Buffalo of last year, or is it? It hadn't been Buffalo of last year, but then Buffalo beat Kansas City, snuck by Kansas City. That's real. With Kansas City had a lot of drops, and then Sam's godbrother, Mr. Tony, didn't know how to line up right and didn't take any accountability, and they wound up losing that game. Now that was an actual eke buy. But when you talk about the total destruction of the Arlington Cowboys by the Buffalo Bills, I don't know. Like, should someone fear Buffalo now? Probably in the AFC because they have Kansas City's number. So beware. And then all respect due to Dallas, and there's not much, but there is some. All respect due to Dallas. They dismantled Philadelphia the week before, right? So Philadelphia was reeling. And when you talk about that week, San Francisco snuck by Seattle. Shout out to Sam. So when you had the matchup of Seattle and Philly, which was flexed to Monday Night Football, it was supposed to be a good game. It was supposed to be competitive. It was supposed to be a lot of fun. And boy, did it deliver. So you did have Philly losing again. However, and you did have Seattle breaking its losing streak, but it was a really, really, really good game. And outside of San Francisco, you may say, hey, nobody wants to see Seattle right now. But I don't know. It's a one-game sample. It's not the same as Buffalo where they beat Kansas City, even though it was an eke bye. They beat Kansas City, and then they dismantled Dallas. So they are trending upward. We think Seattle is trending upward, but Philly was trending down, so we're not sure if it's kind of a hangover of the week before. We don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. Seattle does control its own destiny, as do the Rams, who actually had an impressive victory on Thursday. But we'll get to that in a minute. New power. Did you want to add anything?
Man, I just want to add to the fact that
Go ahead, brother.
it should be emergency mode. It's time to break the glass in case of emergency for the Eagles, because the Eagles, even when you look at the Eagles' record this season, they haven't had many dominant wins. They've had to really give it their all to just barely squeeze through for quite a few of their wins. And this Eagles team does not look like last year's team. I said last week, part of that is because Jalen Hurts appears to be hurt. Like you can see when he runs, he's limping and he's not really explosive as before. So the Eagles, they need to figure it out or they're going to be one and done.
Wow. That, to go from, thank you for that, Sam, to go from the number one seed to an emergency break glass, and Sam is saying break the glass now, that's got to be tough for Philly fans. And in fact, I have an aside on, let's see, this was Seattle over Philly. So that was Monday night, right? So Tuesday, I needed to take something to Kayla's grandmother, to Brianna's mother. I had to drop something off for Kayla's sister, Braylon. And I just happened to be in my 49er t-shirt and my 49er hat. It was no shade to Philly, but she's a big, she's fly, Eagles fly. I've talked about that in the past. Kayla has Philly as her second team just because of her grandmother. So her grandmother opens the door and Sharice is like, "Oh, that's what we doing, Anthony? You shooting at me?" And I just because I have my 49er stuff on. But no, I wasn't shooting at her. I wasn't saying anything negative about Philly by wearing my stuff. I just happened to be wearing my stuff. But I think there is a sense of panic. And the interesting thing was, and Sam and I talked about this, as did a lot of people, but Sam and I talked about the fact that, as he just said, they didn't have a lot of, well, they had some maybe no impressive wins. Well, no convincing wins. No convincing and impressive wins at the same time. And so, but they did enough to win. And so for most of their fan base, it was like, it doesn't matter how we win as long as we win. And then when we were coming to town, I know that Sam talked about the fact that they do enough to win. And so they were going to do enough to win against us. And I was like, dude, they've been teetering on the edge and we are going to take full advantage of that. And we did. And I think that, and I'm not saying that we put together the blueprint because nobody can match what we bring to the table, but we, there were some dents in the armor and maybe some places you could get your arrow through. And so now they're wondering, okay, we only did enough to win, and then now we haven't even really been in these last couple of games. Well, they were in the Seattle game, but when you look at the 49er loss, the Dallas loss, and then now Seattle, where they were competitive, it's like, okay, how do we right this ship? And this is not a Philadelphia Eagles podcast, so I'm not going to try to help them. But I don't have anything against Philly. Like I've said that before. I hate Dallas. I don't have anything against Philly. So moving on. All right, so the new power rankings, only one team stood still at one. You have Baltimore, Miami, Kansas City, and Detroit all move up. So they are 2, 3, 4, and 5. Philly dropped, obviously, to 6. Buffalo dropped to 7. And Dallas, who many were saying, oh, they are the number one team in the NFL with San Francisco, which was ludicrous, but that's what the Arlington Cowboys fan base is, ludicrous. No shade to Luda. Dallas dropped to 8, Cleveland dropped to 9, and Jacksonville dropped to 10. So those are your top 10, yes? We had a little bit of football on Thursday. Had the New Orleans Saints travel out here to SoFi Stadium. And although it wound up being a 30-22 game, so they made New Orleans made it interesting in the fourth quarter. It was seemingly out of reach in the third quarter when they were down 3 scores. So I didn't see the end of it, but the Rams did win 30-22, which puts them back above 500, or maybe above 500 for the first time this season. I don't remember, but they do control their own destiny now to make the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. They have a 65% chance to make the playoffs after that victory. Coming up today, there's another special Saturday, holiday Saturday. We have Cincinnati favored at Pittsburgh, which is the same as Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh are the same thing. So Cincinnati favored at Pittsburgh. And Buffalo, oh boy, Buffalo's knocking on your door, SoFi Stadium, against the reeling Chargers. Do you have anything to say about that game?
No, dude, I really think that the Chargers just need to brace themselves because I think Buffalo's going to bring it to the Chargers, man. So, yeah, yeah,
So hot take, I think Khalil Mack, who didn't have any sacks in the game that where they gave up 63 points to the Las Vegas Raiders, will probably check in with 3. I don't know. I think that Buffalo may be overlooking the Chargers in this one. And now that Brandon Staley's gone, oh, that's right. That's you don't. That's right. They're in your division, so I'm gonna shut up. Okay, Buffalo's gonna win. I won't even pick against. I'm not even gonna do that because I'm not messing with your AFC West. Okay, Buffalo. So then on Sunday we have a full slate minus the other. Well, we don't have a full slate because we have a full slate on Monday. So Sunday, Detroit and Minnesota. Minnesota has gotten to a point now where they've righted the ship so much that they are actually favored at home versus Detroit, who again was like co-favorite in the NFC. It's so funny how everybody was a co-favorite with us. Philly, well, I guess in fairness, they only had one loss, so we were a co-favorite with them, but we were really the favorite. We were a co-favorite with them. They didn't throw Dallas up with us. They didn't throw Detroit up with us. I mean, we take all comers. We do. We really do. But anyway, Detroit is a dog on the road at Minnesota. Cleveland is favored at Houston. I think that's disrespectful. Cleveland is on its 17th quarterback of the season. Now, I know CJ Stroud is out, so maybe that's what they're thinking. But Houston got one last week. Like they got that together, so I think that's disrespectful. But maybe they think that there's going to be burnout for D'Amico Ryans in Houston, like there was burnout for Robert Saleh that first year in New York. You know, when they leave the 49ers and get that head coaching job, the team kind of fizzles. But I think Houston is okay. So I don't agree with that one. Green Bay is at Carolina, and Carolina's favored. So that's interesting. Carolina has a little bit of momentum, and Green Bay has been up and down of late. So Carolina's favored at home. We have the Colts at the Falcons. And every time I name one of these teams, we're talking about rookie quarterbacks, at least rookie quarterbacks that started the season. Houston, Carolina, Atlanta. Like it's
Atlanta.
it's yeah, young guys, right? So Indianapolis is a dog on the road at Atlanta. Seattle, after the win, the close win against Philly, favored at Tennessee, and Tennessee's had some success of late. So that's not just a gimme for Seattle like it would have been a few weeks ago. Oh, when Seattle was a co-favorite, you know, everybody they didn't throw in every NFC team with a winning record as a co-favorite with us. You got to stop that craziness. Washington, who I had a chance to see up close at SoFi on Sunday, finally got to meet Ron Rivera. They are not favored at the Jets. And so that's an interesting one because generally speaking, neither one of them are favored in any game. So, but somebody had to be
Right.
favored. I guess not. I guess they could have had it even, but they don't. So, Washington not favored on the road. I do expect Washington to win that game. I won't tell you the things that I heard on the sideline, but I'm still rooting for Eric Bieniemy. You know, I think that his absence from Kansas City should really say enough about the things that he did there. But other people are saying that was a gift from Andy Reid, and I'm saying, yeah, no. Look, their offense looks average with this all-time quarterback on their team and this all-time tight end. And yes, receivers are dropping passes, but you talk about the schemes, you talk about the play calling, and I think that Eric Bieniemy's absence has been felt. So I'm just throwing that out there. They're the defending Super Bowl champs, and they're, you know, just barely leading the AFC West. I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. So what was that? That was Washington and the Jets. Oh, because
You were
Washington.
Washington Jets.
Because Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator of Washington. I needed to bring that home. Jacksonville, best team in the league at some point this year, they were saying, right? After they ruled Europe. So Jacksonville is not favored at Tampa Bay. And they haven't really looked the same since we put hands on them. So again, you like just bring your best. We'll take it. Arizona, who's shown some signs of life, but we deflated that balloon. At Chicago, Chicago's favored at home. Shout out to Justin Fields because Chicago's probably going to have one of the top 3 picks when all is said and done. And the speculation is that they will, especially if they have the top 2, they will take that. They'll take one of those 2 quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, who is now projected to be number 2, or I can't remember the guy's name who's number 1. Do you remember his name?
Nah, I don't
Yeah,
either.
it's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Dallas at Miami. Who do you think is favored in that one, Sam? I know, but who do you think?
I would say Miami should be favored in that game. Miami plays at a faster speed than the Cowboys. So I just don't see the Cowboys linebackers being able to contain the running game of Miami, nor their secondary being able to contain the receivers. So I don't. But who is favored in that game?
Okay, so I will tell you, but I want to give you this first since you brought up their running game. So I know you guys might think I would take a shot and say, oh, this is, Miami has all of the running backs that San Francisco didn't want. That's not what I'm saying at all. That McDaniels, is it Daniels or McDaniels? McDaniels took the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, who was the one of the leading offensive people in San Francisco, took them. So they were backs with jobs, and they were important, like Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. Like, they were important. So now Mostert has 21 touchdowns for that Miami running game. Like, it's no shade at all. Like, I don't care for Miami, but I love what they're doing. That being said, Miami is favored at home, but barely. The last that I checked, it was by 1.5. And since you get 3 points at home, in theory, they're saying Dallas is favored. So, but Miami is a 1.5 point favorite at home. And if I don't watch anything else on Sunday, I'm watching that because that should be really, really competitive for 2 of the top teams out there. There'll be some other competitive games for teams that are not necessarily top teams, but that's a big one. And then you have New England at Denver. Seemingly Bill Belichick's last days in New England, but maybe not because he should be able to do whatever he wants. But for his pride, I would imagine he wants a competitive product. So they've got to. I mean, the drafts have been terrible. They haven't developed players, so they've got to do some different things next year if he is back. And then y'all must have forgot. You guys thought Russell Wilson was over the hill. And I told you guys, and I get it. It's the AFC West, so I won't talk a lot about Denver. We can move on. But, don't give that 21 gun salute. Russell Wilson is still here. The Raiders play at Kansas City. I'll let you talk about that before I talk about the other 2 games.
Man, really, this is going to be a tough one. Like, it's not going to be a walk in the park. And yes, we've talked about, me specifically, I've talked about the momentum that the Raiders have had and the camaraderie that they've built as a team.
New
But the Raiders are going to have to.
trilogy.
The Raiders are going to need to play mistake-free football, meaning their defense is going to have to be smart, locked in, not getting penalties because that's typically their Achilles heel is penalty after penalty. So the Raiders are going to have to play mistake-free, manage the ball. I'm hoping that it is some downhill smash mouth football, running that ball, run it up the gut to open up the passing game for the Raiders and just being smart on the defensive side. Because if the defense is smart, if the defense is able to create a turnover or 2, I think the Raiders could do something to the Chiefs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So we also have the Giants at Philly. And so if you ever needed a team that should let you right the ship, it would be the Giants of 2023, but the Giants actually have wins. And so I don't know. I mean, obviously Philadelphia is favored at home, and Big Dom is not allowed on the sideline for any more of the regular season. They've taken his rights away, but they'll let him come back for the playoffs. And by all accounts, Philly will make the playoffs. But so Giants at Philly, and then the big one, Baltimore at San Francisco. The AFC leader versus the NFL and NFC leader in San Francisco. So I won't say a lot about that. Everybody needs to put their money where their mouth is. Put their money where their mouths are. Put their money where their mouth is. All of that. Bang, bang. You got anything else about the NFL before we move on to the association?
No, man, that was a great comprehensive update of what's happening in all things NFL, brother. So we got a lot of exciting football to watch this holiday season.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to jump ahead to the association. That's the NBA. We'll talk about NCAA
Get ready for
football.
the closeout.
And that's not it, not to close out the collective podcast.
New
We're not going to
collective
skip a whole
podcast.
hour. So I sent you. I don't think I can talk about that. So I had some inside information about one team and who they might be and who they set up an interview with for next year. I can't talk about that. All I can say is I heard some information. I shared it with Sam and some other people, and I can't even tell you the other people because I don't want to give you the tone of who it might be. However, real news right now is that in a search where there is no interim coach, there's just someone coaching the team right now. According to sources who would like to remain anonymous, Jim Harbaugh is the leading candidate for the Los Angeles Chargers job right now. And so it's really interesting. Like those of us who really do care about diversity, equity, and inclusion and actually pay attention to football want people to get new shots. And so on the one hand, Harbaugh hasn't been here in a while, and he's had the one shot in San Francisco, and then he went to college, and he's done some great things there in Ann Arbor. But I guess you could look at it as he has reinvented himself, or he has remained relevant, even though he hasn't taken a whole bunch of coordinator jobs or other jobs in the NFL. So some other people have been able to become developed, but you kind of knew with up to 10 openings, Harbaugh's going to get a job. And I will say that there are probably going to be 10 openings, right? There are 3 right now, and there are probably going to be 10. That's a lot. So we might get all the black candidates that we want to get, and then there still be left over for, say, Harbaugh. Like, Harbaugh could get this job, and you could still have Bieniemy. You could still have Raheem Morris. You could still have Steve Wilkes, because we can't keep a defensive coordinator in San Francisco for nothing. Steve Wilkes is probably gone. Raheem Morris really deserves another shot. Now, you don't call him recycle because he didn't get a real shot. You don't call Steve Wilkes recycle because he didn't get a real shot. I mean, does Vance Joseph get another look with the resurgence of the Denver defense? I don't know.
He should get another look because with the coaching carousel, some faces are always in that mix. But then there's some faces that they have a one shot that's not even a viable shot, and then they're banished off to the world of coordinating.
Facts. So I feel like Ron Rivera is probably not going to get a look this year. Although he's usually top. And he actually might be done. He might be ready to walk away after this. I don't know how Lovie Smith feels because he's generally in the mix when you have these opportunities. And luckily we have one black candidate who always gets a look or who's always in the mix, and that is Lovie Smith. And so if he's now retiring, then we don't know. But that's the breaking news. Probably Harbaugh to the Chargers, and they're probably going to lock him up before anybody else gets a chance to talk to him. So, we know that there are several other coaches who are not going to make it through, but you can't really do that in Las Vegas because you can't do it in Las Vegas because Antonio Pierce is going to be a candidate, right? And you're still trying to see what he's going to do. And he's been in it for some weeks now. In Los Angeles with the Chargers, no, there's a thing where that ship has already sunk, and so you want to get your best opportunity now. And you can't talk to NFL coaches. That's the other thing. You can't talk to NFL coaches right now, but clearly you could talk to someone in the NCAA. Now, they can't sign him because of the Rooney Rule. They do need to have black candidates, or they need to have diverse candidates in there. And that could be a woman. It could be any of the black candidates that we've talked about. It could be Ron Rivera. It could be other people, but you have to wait on that because those people all have NFL jobs currently, and we still have 3 weeks left. Fair? Fair. Boom, boom. All right, NCAA football. Okay, Harbaugh to the Chargers. That's all I got with that. All right, but
yeah, that other thing we're gonna have to hold on to for a little longer.
Okay, I was about to.
Are you hitting that?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not a long one. It's not a long one at all. So here's the thing: in a season in which the UCLA Bruins shellacked the USC Trojans in the city championship of football, right? So that bell is definitely going to be blue again. We beat the crap out of them, right? So we do that. Then we put hands on our opponent in our bowl game. And things seem to be chippy, pun intended, Chip Kelly, and rosy, pun intended, Rose Bowl. But then we find out that DeAnton Lynn, the defensive coordinator for UCLA, left for USC. And oh, by the way, since I'm going to go over there, I'm going to bring John Humphreys, the standout cornerback from UCLA. So I'm going to say this. I have nothing negative to say about USC for doing this. Do whatever you can. Do what you can do to get a competitive edge, especially in this landscape where you have a transfer portal. And if you feel like you weren't being treated right by UCLA, go to USC. I mean, we don't want you back on campus, but do what you got to do. And I would say UCLA, get your house in order. So I'm sure that's not what you thought I was going to say. Get your house in order because people are running for the hills.
You do realize what it's going to take to get that house in order, though, right? We're happy when the Bruins win, and you give Chip Kelly a pass for that week because they have one impressive win. But then when this isn't the first person that has defected, who has left, player-wise, he's had players decommit. I know about his dealings in Philadelphia when he was the Eagles head coach. So there's a lot about Chip Kelly that people do not like. So I think, if you're talking about how are we going to right the ship and fix things, that might start at the helm of the head coach of Bruins football. So what's your thought?
New SG Trilogy.
What is understood does not need to be explained. Thank you for that hot take, Sam. All right. You see how I didn't have anything to say back? Okay. Shout out to Will Smith. Drums, please. All right, Sam. Let's talk about Major League Baseball. You got it.
Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it?
Talk about it.
The Los Angeles Dodgers have decided to dig in their pockets again and dig deep.
Really?
And this time in the form of an ace of that pitcher that's going to lead us for more than a decade in Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Japanese phenom. And wait a minute, how many seasons? What did they say? 12 years, $325 million. Yeah, dude, I'm happy. You and I, we talk about the Dodgers need to shore up things as it pertains to pitching, because we never have any doubts that the bats are going to create. But every night, your bats are not going to crack. Let's just face it. So you have to make sure that your pitching staff is legit, and the Dodgers are doing just that, man. So you see the smile right here. I went from feeling under the weather to feeling on top of the world, man, because I'm happy that the Dodgers are being bold. But I also realize the Dodgers are a team that they don't have seasons to prepare to win. The Dodgers are a must-win now type of organization. So I'm hoping that we get a quick return on that investment, similar to the investment of, when we invested in Mookie and we saw that returned relatively fast. Think what, 2 seasons, and boom, we were there to win the cup. So it's important that the Dodgers are a win now organization. And it looks like the Dodgers are not fearful of spending money, but I'm hoping that, the dollars that are being spent, we're going to see that quick return on our investment and not just have one-offs. I'm hoping we can win for a while and have some meaningful championship seasons, brother. How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? Let me think.
The happy hands.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is that, and that is that with that, and
Right. And I love saying it. Yashinobu Yamamoto. That's what I love
you do,
saying.
and I love it. Yeah, I took a little Japanese, and so I want to take this time because there are so many syllables to let you guys who don't know that. So in Japanese you have characters as opposed to letters. Now we call them letters, but when you look at Yoshi no Bu, there are 4 characters in his first name. Yo, Shi, no, Bu. So it's not, 9 letters, 10 letters, or whatever. It's 4 characters. And then hence ya, ma, mo, to. So 4 characters in the last name also. So I don't just have tech talk now. I can school you guys on a little Japanese. But Sam did a really good job with the pronunciation of Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yes. So shout out to the Dodgers for doing it big, doing it big, doing it big. Bang, bang. That's really what we wanted to give you. So 12 years and a whole bunch of money. And shout out to, we had to say goodbye to what was, I can't even figure out how to say his name. What was our closer's name? I want to say Kelsey Jenner. What was his name? Oh, what is his
Man,
name?
now you got
Oh,
me.
come on. What is his name? See, you too, right? What is his name?
I'm looking right at him.
Me too.
Jansen, doggone it,
Oh my
dog.
goodness! I should have even
You're,
brought
you're
it up.
messing
Kel,
you're messing with
Kel,
me now.
what is his name? Kenley Jelson. Kenley. What?
There we go.
Kenley
No, that's
Jansen.
not.
Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen. Okay. Thank goodness. I could not remember his name. Anyway, we had to tip our caps to Kenley Jansen when he left. And then, Clayton Kershaw, tip your cap. Yeah. And then we're waiting on Walker Buehler to come back, Dustin May. But Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the ace. And they locked him up for 12 years. So if you do the math, and I know Sam and I have both done the math, 2 players over $1 billion for those 2 contracts. All right, moving on to the association. So I have a whole thing on the defense. I don't know if you want to, so tell us what you think about what's going on in the NBA right now, and then I'll go into my little thing on the defense. Catch us up.
All right.
I know you love
So
the NBA right now.
the NBA. Yes. All right. So as it pertains to I know you're going into the segment on defense. So my conversation is going to be predicated on that defense
Okay.
or the lack thereof.
Okay.
Watching how the league has shifted to an offensive league only, meaning, when we grew up in the era of the hand check, we grew up in the era of Magic Johnson crossing half court and he can back you down from half court all the way into the paint.
Yeah.
And that slowed the game down. And so now you see the league wants everything to be fast break where guards dominate and, a lot of threes, a lot of buckets with not much defense. And so for me, as a basketball purist, as someone who has loved the game ever since I can remember, as someone who played the game, organized basketball for years, for me, seeing the direction of the NBA specifically, where it's just a score dominant league, there's a great deal of frustration that sets in for me because I'm one that likes defensive schemes. I'm one that likes defensive matchups. You know, when you can look at classic matchups of when Michael Cooper would defend the best offensive player on said team, or when Scottie Pippen would defend the best offensive player on said team, or Dennis Rodman's defensive prowess and toughness. You know, you think about Ben Wallace, or you think about Dikembe Mutombo blocking shots and waving his finger. I miss that era of tough basketball that was defense and that it was more of an all-around game. Now it seems like we're watching a glorified mixtape or all-star game, and that's the part for me that's kind of tough. I'll digress.
I appreciate it. We appreciate it. And yeah, I did put a little something together like to talk about the NBA defense. And I know that, entertainment sells, and the thinking is if the offense is up, then more people will become fans. But it just seems like there was always a good percentage of sports fans that loved the NBA. The NBA was never the league that was lacking fans. Back in the day, even though most people played baseball, it was Major League Baseball. It was the National Hockey League that, weren't getting all the burn. Obviously Major League Baseball more than hockey, but yeah, the defense is really something. It's missing. But just going through this, the NBA, it's not as long a season as baseball, but we just had the in-season tournament. The Lakers won that. We know that. They won in Vegas. They beat the Pacers. Interestingly enough, they put up a banner for that. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I do know how I feel about that, but I'm not sharing it. They put up a banner for that. And then now they're tweaking it so that whoever wins it, because LA just won it, whoever wins it gets an automatic pass into the next year's tournament. So does that mean they get a bye, or does that mean that if it's someone from the West, then the West takes one less team? Yes, Sam.
Is that in essence like a participation trophy? Woo,
It's
he did it.
absolutely a participation trophy. I mean,
Man,
it's a participation.
the ceremony was so awkward. It was like, wait, huh? What is this? And we can go back to past episodes in which you eloquently explained the tournament. You walked us through the tournament, and at that moment, I actually gained some interest because prior to you explaining the tournament, I could care less.
Right.
But to see this ceremony when everyone is oohing and on over this banner, it's like, wait a minute, you're putting it in the same rafters next to world championships, and it's just a tournament. I don't know. But then I guess, and I don't think this is the same extent, but let's say collegiately, you win an NCAA championship, you'll have a banner. You win your conference, you'll have a banner. So maybe they're equating it to something like that, but it looked like my kids were 4 years old playing basketball for their first time ever. They won one game in the season and they received trophies at the end of the season. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. This is the era of participation trophies, and I wonder whose idea that was. Maybe Mr. James. I don't know. But all right. So speaking of defense, we are looking for it. Where can we find it? So I'm gonna say shout out to my guy Anthony Cobbs for blessing us with this graphic. He gave us this graphic, and so here we go. Defense, NBA defense. Where are you? Where can we find you? It's on a milk carton. And for those of you who have been with the show for quite some time, you know that the last time we put out a milk carton, it was Where in the World is Trey Hop? The little homie Trey Hopson was missing in action for quite some time, and so yeah. So now it's gone. So I got a little bit on it, and I know that you guys think, oh, look at these scoring averages. Some of you look at these scoring averages. These are the greatest players of all time because look how much they're scoring. But it's not that simple to me. So this is what I got. We don't have to expound on it, but I got a little bit, and here we go. So NBA defense in decline, a decade of transformation. In recent years, the NBA has experienced a noticeable shift in its defensive landscape. This change is not merely anecdotal, but is supported by various statistics and observations from players, coaches, and analysts alike. The decline in defense can be attributed to several factors, including changes in rules, the rise of the three-point shot, which is what people rely on heavily when they talk about this and say, oh, just more people shooting threes, and the evolving skill set of players. Firstly, let's consider the impact of rule changes. The NBA's implementation of defensive 3-second violations and the relaxation of hand checking rules have made it increasingly challenging for defenders to guard aggressively against those offensive players. Well, to guard aggressive offensive players. Sorry. This shift has resulted in a league that favors offense, as evidenced by the steady increase in league-wide points per game. For instance, in the 2012-2013 season, the average points per game across the NBA was approximately 98.1. Fast forward to last season, and this number jumped to 112.3. Think about what I'm saying. The average points per game across the league was under 100 at 98.1. And so you had some that were probably considered to be inept offensive teams that were probably at like 89. And you probably had some hovering around 120. But overall, the average was 98. Now it's 112. And every single team is averaging above 100 at this point. Another crucial factor is the three-point revolution. The prominence of the three-point shot has fundamentally alerted defensive schemes. Teams now prioritize defending the perimeter, often at the expense of interior defense. This strategic shift is evident in the increase in three-point attempts per game. Again, in the 2012-13 season, teams averaged about 20 three-point attempts per game. By last season, the number nearly doubled to around 40 attempts per game. And that's per team. That's per team. Now, we're not just talking about Golden State. We talk about 40 attempts per game. Just that was unheard of in the past. So I'll give them that. But the focus on perimeter defense has left the paint more vulnerable, allowing easier scoring inside. But here's the thing. So more people are shooting threes, and then there's not a lot of focus on perimeter defense, but you do have to show. So you move out there and you put your hand up, and that does leave the paint vulnerable. And so now people are scoring inside and outside. And I know I have statistics for you, and I know I have examples of why, but what it really comes down to is, I'm not saying no one cares about defense, but yeah, defense. It's not there. But moreover, advanced statistics such as defensive rating, which measures a team's defensive efficiency, have shown a consistent increase over the years. A lower rating indicates better defensive performance. In the 12-13 season, the league average was around 105.8, while last season it decreased to approximately 112.5, again signifying a decline in defensive efficiency. In conclusion, the decline in NBA defense over the past decade is a multifaceted issue, but it is an issue. It stems from changes in rules, the three-point revolution, and the evolution of player skill sets. Or I say the evolution of player skill sets, but it could also be the regression of player skill sets. While this shift has led to more dynamic and high-scoring games, it has undoubtedly resulted in a decrease in traditional defensive strategies and effectiveness. All right, that's all I got. NBA defense, where are you? What's up, Sam? Oh, what's up, Brianna? She happened to jump on. Yeah, I'll hit you after the podcast is done. Okay, what you guys have before we move on to hoops?
Man, what I can say is this. My first basketball coach, Mike Solomon, who coached at the Inglewood YMCA, if I spoke with him today, he would lose his cool watching these teams not play defense because I was 7 years old when I met the man, 6 or 7, I think 7. 7 years old when I met him, and he was a defense first coach. You would not play for him if you did not have your hands up, if you were not aggressive, if you were not playing on the ball, if you did not keep your eye on your man's chest to make sure you knew where he was at all times. If your eye wasn't on the ball, he was on you. And that for me was always like my foundation when it came to basketball was defense. Before you even take a shot, learning how to play defense. When my sons played basketball for years, when I was watching from the stands, when I was their coach, we were always defense first because your defense will create your offense or will help create your offense. When you're getting steals, rebounds, those key intangibles, that's what wins games. So for me, it looks like the NBA has gotten kind of gimmicky, i.e., I look at the tournament, I look at let's just score buckets. And it's almost like those players that are committed to defense, they're almost penalized for playing defense because they can't get close they can't get close on the offensive player. And as soon as they do, it's like so many ticky-tack fouls. And, I don't profess to know all that referees have to deal with when it comes to refereeing a game. But my goodness, defenders should be able to play defense. Teams should be able to draw up defensive schemes to stop teams. And it doesn't seem like the NBA wants any part of that.
So I had it on mute. So I'm nodding my head, letting you know I hear you, and I'm coming back. I'll be there in a second. Um, yeah. So you mentioned we haven't heard Ace Hood yet, have we? You mentioned Michael Cooper, and Michael Cooper used to live by my great aunt's house. So I met him as a child, and I got to spend a lot of time with him once he became head coach of the Sparks. So shout out to Coop. But one thing that he told me like early on is defense wins ball games, and it's like, oh, okay. So I like he helped shape me, even though he never coached me. It was like I was like, oh, wow. So defense was always paramount to me. That's what I focused on when I played basketball, and then I played center field in baseball, and then in football I was a defensive back. So defense was just it was it for me, and I don't even watch. No shade, it is what it is. But I don't even watch the NBA. I don't. And it's not like I'm sitting back reminiscing about old times because I've watched the NBA recently. I just don't watch it right now. And there are a number of factors involved in that. But I would just really like to see some defense. And I'm glad that Sam, while he was using terms that kind of make you cringe, like ticky tack and stuff like that, he did say he doesn't profess to know the ins and outs of what the rules are and how officials have to call games. Are our patterns different? I think so. So that was really that's important. They are for the most part calling the game as the rules are written. I think there's still some ambiguity in the rule of traveling. I think that's the biggest thing. But and I think that if traveling were actually observed as it's written, offense would be down because you have some plays where you're supposed to be able to take 2 steps, right? And you're not supposed to be able to dribble after you take 2 steps. But there are some plays where you got 2 or 3 steps and then a dribble and then 2 or 3 more steps. So you could have 6 steps on there. And I'm talking steps without dribbling. It's a lot. And so that makes it much harder to defend when you don't because you do everything right. And then the person travels and you feel like you've stopped them. So they're not allowed to travel, but then they travel and you can't do anything about it. So that becomes really, really interesting. But all right, that's what we have for the association. Neither one of us are excited about what we're seeing defensively. Neither of us is excited about certain gimmicky things. Neither one of us is going to run away from the NBA, but we're just not celebrating. What do you have, sir?
Look, As we talk about traveling, I had to reference some words from the late great Chick Hearn. And as it pertained to traveling, because he would get very, very animated. And so he would call traveling a bunny hop in the pea patch. And so I would imagine if he was still calling games, if he was alive today, Chick Hearns would lose his cool completely because
Mhm.
this gather, even how you can stop your dribble and still step back to create some space to take a shot, Chick Hearn would lose his cool.
Yeah.
He would lose his cool because this goes against all things basketball that we learned growing up as it pertains to the game of basketball. And I was having a conversation with a friend who is a basketball purist. And I said, you know, with the implementation of the Euro step, why did we implement the Euro step when the game wasn't created in Europe? Just curious.
Mm.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
are
And because I get it with FIBA, a lot of things you can do there. Does that mean we're going to start being able to take the ball off the rim and start the fast break like FIBA or what?
you mean like LeBron James Jr. did the other day against Long Beach State? Apparently so. I'm just saying, you make this too easy sometimes. But I do miss the days of wonderful basketball sometimes. And thinking back on it does put me in a sentimental mood. I don't know, man. I think in a sentimental mood might be challenging. A change is gonna come as my favorite song. I don't know. Like it's just it's amazing. Shout out to John Coltrane and Duke Ellington. Okay, so we haven't heard my brother in a while.
Loyalty ain't just when it's convenient. Like loyalty ain't when it's convenient. That's why I said what I said. People scream loyalty and loyalty and loyalty, but if he ain't give you that bag, he ain't create that opportunity, would you still be loyal to him?
Would you?
You probably wouldn't. You know what I mean? But it's convenient for you at that time to do so. So you gonna play your part and play the.
You're gonna play your part and play the position. Man, fake. So there's a song called People by Libyanka, and then she has a remix. And in the remix, the first person that she has sing, who I believe is Arya Starr, says, "I'd rather be by myself than to have fake friends check on me." Just throwing that out there. Text message, bam. All right. Anyway, it's not me. All right, we're gonna go on to women's hoops, and I'll take it away. All right. So guess what? In our top 10, absolutely no changes. In our top 12, one change. Kansas State moved up from 13. No, I'm sorry. Ohio State. Kansas State was already 12. Ohio State was tied for 12th, and now they dropped to 13. It's just because they wound up with two less votes than Kansas State, but you don't really call that a drop. Top 14, no other change than that. And then Indiana at 16, switched places with Virginia Tech, who is now at 15. UConn is still at 17. Marquette moved up one spot to 18. Louisville dropped one spot to 19, so they swapped places. Um, Gonzaga moved up one space to 20. Florida State moved up one to 21. Creighton is now also tied for 21, and they moved up from 20, so they moved up two spots. And then Washington, the Huskies, who are undefeated, are just cracked the top 25. They're at 23. North Carolina moved up from 25 to 24, and TCU is back in. Miami dropped out, and West Virginia dropped out. All right, so that's our top 20. Oh, I'm sorry, UNLV dropped out. Miami and UNLV. And I guess UNLV took some punishment because they dropped out with a bullet. They barely got any votes this time around. So not a lot, no upsets last week. No top 25 upsets or no big upsets. I mean, yeah, UNLV lost, but beyond that, like nothing in our top 15. And then as far as our games coming up in the top 25 are not going to play again until Wednesday, and that's only Texas versus Jackson State. So shout out to Jackson State for getting that game. Texas should polish them off. Texas is number 5. Nothing on Thursday for top 25. However, I do want to point out that Alabama State, shout out to the Hornets, is playing at Miami, and Morgan State is playing at Oregon State. So I like the fact that the HBCUs are traveling to play Power 5 schools. That's
To get
good.
the
They're getting
bag,
money.
to get the bag.
They're getting money for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to them for doing that. And then Alcorn's playing at DePaul. So, all right. On Friday, you have Stanford going to Berkeley and Georgia Tech going to Florida State. So Stanford's the number 9 team. Berkeley is unranked. Georgia Tech is unranked. Florida State is 21. Now, remember, Florida State was in the top 10 to start the season. Just throwing that out there. But they're not playing ranked opponents. Take us to next Saturday, and we will be on next Saturday, so we'll touch on this again, maybe in depth. South Carolina, number 1, playing at East Carolina. That should be a walk in the park. What shouldn't be a walk in the park is these 2 top 11 Pac-12 matchups. You have the University of Southern California traveling to Pauley Pavilion. The number 6 Women of Troy traveling to play the number 2 Bruins. That is the highest ranked matchup. That is the highest ranked in the history of that matchup. The highest ranking, the highest combination ranking in the history of that matchup. First of all, UCLA has never been 2 before 3 weeks ago. And Southern Cal, who has been 6, has never faced that high a ranked UCLA team. So there are several firsts that will happen in that game. They're both undefeated, so someone will have their first loss, and we'll see how it goes. So City Championship, Part 2, Women's Basketball, Part 1. On the men's side, let me just throw this out there. I do not expect the UCLA men to be able to compete with the USC men. I'm just throwing that out there. The UCLA men are in a free fall. Okay? But we're not talking about NCAA men right now. So also top 11, you have number 8 Colorado hosting number 11 Utah. Now remember, they came in the Pac-12 together. They changed the Pac-10 to the Pac-12, Utah and Colorado. So that's another big matchup. And then another top 10 matchup, you have number 5 Texas, again, who I mentioned is playing on Wednesday. They're hosting in-state rival Baylor, number 10 Baylor. Shout out to Elaine Williams, who now lives by Baylor. There are no other ranked matchups, but LSU is playing Jacksonville, Iowa's playing Minnesota, and Ohio State is traveling to Michigan. So that's something because that's a rivalry. Michigan's not ranked, but they are playing that very, very, very important game. And that'll be one of those. In football, they would call it high noon Saturday, but it'll just be high noon. Well, it's still high noon Saturday, but it's women's basketball. So take that how you will. And then we don't have much more because we'll be on the podcast to talk about it. So South Carolina holds strong at number 1. UCLA holds strong at number 2. And then we'll see what happens with the rest of the field. But that SC at UCLA matchup next Saturday is pretty big. Moving on to the men, my brother.
All righty. So as we talk men's NCAA hoops, it's a stark contrast from the women. You spoke in detail about the fact that there were no top 25 upsets. And oh, yes, with the men, there were several top 25 upsets. In terms of top 25, the top of the week, the AP ranked number 1 team in the nation is Purdue, followed by Kansas, Houston, Arizona at 4, UConn at 5. Mark that in your mind. UConn at 5, Marquette at 6, Oklahoma Sooners at 7, University of Tennessee at 8, Kentucky at 9, and Baylor is ranked 10th in the nation. As we talk about upsets this week, with college basketball specifically, there's so much disparity because on any given night, the team that's a highly rated or highly ranked team can be upset by a team that many may not know about. And that's what we saw this week. Marquette came in, as mentioned, ranked number 6 in the nation, and they lost to Providence 72-57. Providence is unranked. And now for me, my Seton Hall Pirates coming in out of South Orange, New Jersey, playing at the Prudential Center, the Rock in Brick City, New Jersey, Newark. Seton Hall defeated the number 5 ranked defending national champion, coached by Seton Hall alum Danny Hurley. UConn Huskies got the smackdown from my Seton Hall Pirates, 75-60. So taking cold medicine, drinking tea and water, and still doing my happy dance like, yeah, because we gave it to the Huskies, which was great. Let's see, number 10 Baylor. Not a big upset, but an upset nonetheless. Number 10 Baylor lost to number 21 Duke, 78-70. Another Big East powerhouse, Creighton. It's funny when you say Big East powerhouse, but you say Creighton because they're in Omaha, Nebraska. Most of you know how I feel about conference realignment. It just gets my blood boiling, and I'm still upset about that. But Creighton, it was a close game, and they lost to Villanova 68-66. Creighton came in ranked 12th in the nation. And then number 7, Oklahoma had to face a UNC Tar Heels team that comes in ranked 11th, and the Tar Heels were able to get them 81-69. So we had quite a few upsets this week in the world of men's college basketball, top 25. Fast forward to today, we have some good matchups. A team that a lot of people were introduced to last season in the tournament was FAU, Florida Atlantic University. I believe they're the Owls. This team plays a very exciting brand of basketball, similar to Princeton basketball teams of yesteryear in terms of running backdoor screens along the baseline. There's a lot of movement. You typically don't see one person on that team running ISOs or holding the ball for any amounts of time. They move the ball around. And so, with that being said, FAU is ranked 14th in the nation, and they're up with a big game today against number 4 Arizona, and that should be a good game. I'm thinking that Arizona is going to win that one, but FAU, if they get hot, they have some shooters, and they play fundamental basketball, so that should be a good game today. Number 5 UConn plays against St. John's. Now, usually I wouldn't make a big deal about St. John's, especially they're not a ranked team, but they are coached by Rick Pitino. Regardless of how you feel about Coach Pitino has St. John's playing a competitive brand of basketball, and he is a Hall of Fame caliber coach, which I expect St. John's to at least come out and fight. Go ahead, brother.
What does that mean? No matter how you feel about Rick Pitino, do some people not like Rick Pitino?
Yeah, some people will say Rick Pitino has had his hand on some shady dealings in past stops where he's coached, and so
Oh,
that reputation often precedes him. When you say Rick Pitino, people give the side eye of, yeah, okay, he was recruiting violations here. He blows up teams and creates a culture that can be kind of allegedly.
oh,
So yeah, that comes along with the Rick Pitino, and then my beloved Seton Hall Pirates face Xavier, so they're in Ohio for that game. Um, yeah, shout out to my homegirl Laura Chapnick. We always talk trash. She is a Xavier alum, so I look forward to the Hall knocking down the X today on the road. And from there, man, that's our recap of men's NCAA football NCAA basketball for the week.
all right.
Great week with a lot of great upsets.
Cool beans, brother. Cool beans. We appreciate that from you. And shout out to the basketball that we're actually paying attention to and caring about right now. That's what's up. Um, let's go into the culture. Let's go into the culture. Are you good with going into the culture? Are
Come
you
on
good?
now.
I'm excited
I'm
about getting.
part of the culture, brother. I'm always ready for the culture.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. All right, well then I'm gonna get right into it. We have a graduate transfer to the UCLA gymnastics program named Nia Reed. She's transferred over from Florida, and there's something called Meet the Bruins 2024, and Nia Reed wanted you to meet her. So let's meet Nia Reed and see what she gave us the other day during Meet the Bruins. Now you can see that she is kneeling, and if you can't see what she's doing with her hands, she's got a pyramid. That being said, let's go. Pay attention to her leotard also. Yes, it does say Delta Sigma Theta. All right, there you go. Shout out to one Nia Reed, who represented for not only Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but she said she was repping for the whole Divine Nine. So there you go. There you go. There you go. Sam, you got some music for us to talk? You got some music to talk about? A little bit? A little bit? You're on mute.
Oh, I'm back. Okay. First and foremost, shout out to Naya, representing for the ladies of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to my late grandmother, who is a member of DST. So shout out.
Oh, shout out
From
to
there,
my mom.
man.
Shout out to my mom.
Oh, yeah. And your mom. Yeah, Mama Carter.
All right.
That's what's
All
up.
right.
Yes. From there, a couple of music projects that are out right now that I wanted to turn you on to. This first project, quite often we talk about, and then we saw a lot of this in the 90s, where ball players wanted to be rappers or rappers want to be ball players. Well, the latest indoctrination of that is in an artist that some of you may not have heard of, but he goes by the name of Bart Oatmeal. That's right, Bart Oatmeal. Bart Oatmeal is a member of the Bruins Nation, brought so much joy to Westwood, to Pauley Pavilion, electrifying point guard who went on to have a lengthy career in the NBA in the form of NBA point guard Baron Davis. Baron Davis has decided to embark upon a career of being an MC, and I've reviewed quite a few of his songs. His latest project is called Steel Cut, and Steel Cut is a dope project. I think it's 8 songs. My favorite song is him and this other MC that's from Compton named Jay Worthy. And I really like the project. So for you hip hop heads, if you like hip hop, if you like lyrics, great production, check out Bart Oatmeal's Steel Cut. Dope project there. Go ahead, brother.
So for those of you that didn't catch it, so anyway, go Bruins. Shout out to PD. Bart Oatmeal, Steel Cut. Go ahead, Sam.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's this week's hip hop project that I want to highlight. So check that out.
Wait, and the song with Jay Worthy is called Boiled Water. This is just great.
Bro, have you heard that? Have you heard that record?
I haven't, but I wasn't hip, but we're gonna get to it. Shout out to PD. All right, go ahead, Sam.
And Jay Worthy talks that talk. So it's one of those records. When you put that record on later today, put your Lokes on so you can see what you're saying. You got to put the Lokes on when you ride with that, because that's a hard record. There you go. There you had on backwards with the Lokes on. I'm ditching these Urkels for my Lokes once we get off the air.
Right.
From there, the second artist that I want to highlight is Meta. Meta has a project, When I Hear Your Name Live. When I say it is a phenomenal project, this young woman's voice is amazing. Her presentation, she's put together visually, she's put together well, but her voice is amazing. And so that's a project that I think you will come to enjoy and love. And it's a live project. There's something about live music for me. You know, when you go to a live show, when you can hear the instruments clearly, and when you can see how an artist connects with said instruments, that's what this project feels like from her. So Meta, When I Hear Your Name Live, great R&B project. And then this last one, it's a fusion of a couple of different forms of music. It's R&B, it's soul, and we're going to sprinkle in a little Christmas joy. So I've never heard Christmas music spun in this manner, but October London, for those of you who may not have heard of October London, this young man, and I'm always really, I'm one that stays away from comparing this person to that person because I think everyone should be the best version of themselves. But if I had to compare October London's voice to anyone else that I've ever heard, brace yourself, his voice would be that of a modern day Marvin Gaye. His voice is absolutely amazing. His timing, and he appears to be an old soul. So he has a new project which is called The Greatest Gift. That's a project that I think you should check out over this holiday season. And as I said, it's a fusion project where it's going to have R&B, soul music, but then he sprinkles in some holiday joy and Christmas in that project. And I've never heard Christmas songs sang in this manner, so it's a good project there.
Filled with love and tons of glee, there you are, standing underneath.
Okay, I just wanted to give them a little taste in case they hadn't heard him.
Oh, he's official. You can go down that rabbit hole on YouTube and just pull up videos of him recording in studio and performing, and that young man's amazing. One additional item that I wanted to add to your holiday watch list. If you're anything like I am over the holiday season, when you have time off and you try to find something to binge watch, one of those must watch on the binge watch list is Amazon original Coach Prime. So I started watching that last night, and it's Coach Deion Sanders, his family. It's the journey from leaving Jackson State to start that brand new chapter at the University of Colorado in Buffalo. And it's everything from how he interacted with the athletic director to how their conversations went and exactly what that looked like. And so it's great to see them pull back the curtain to give you a day in the life of how that football program functions and the leadership of that program functions. And so great. Shout out to two of my boys that worked on the project, executive producer Fred Anthony Smith and my boy Marcus Miles, HU stand up. Both of those creatives worked on that project and they're very passionate about the project. And once I began watching it, I immediately was hooked. Like 5 minutes in and you're like, whoa, you know, we think we know Coach Prime. We think we know all that he endured throughout the season. But when you see just how the structure is with his family and you see how he moved into a community that he wasn't familiar with, but he walks where he's so certain about who he is. He has a relationship with the Most High, which makes him so confident, and he's able to sow into so many different people. And so you can really see that in this project. So if and when you have time, you should check out Amazon's original Coach Prime. Also, shout out to Michael Strahan, because Michael Strahan is one of the EPs as well for this project. So that's it. That's it for the culture from me, brother.
Well, Well, then, we definitely appreciate that. And then I guess that, I don't know. I think we have one more little segment. So I guess we can go to that now if you
Wait a minute.
want.
Is this my favorite segment you're talking about?
I mean,
This is Tech Talk Now.
oh, Sam gets so excited. I'm like that's so dope. It's so dope that you get so excited. But all right, here we go.
This is Tech Talk Now.
Hey, my people, seamless communication, the power of Wi-Fi calling. Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another insightful episode of Tech Talk Now, proudly brought to you by the Collective Podcast. I'm your host, AC from LA, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of Wi-Fi calling, exploring its importance not only at home, but also in the workplace. Let's begin by demystifying Wi-Fi calling. In a nutshell, it's a feature that allows you to make and receive calls using a Wi-Fi network instead of a traditional cellular network. It's like having your own private cell tower right in your home or office. Now, let's talk about why Wi-Fi calling is crucial at home. Picture this. You're in a remote area with poor cellular coverage, or you live in Renaissance in Inglewood, or you're inside a house with thick walls that block cell signals. Without Wi-Fi calling, your phone might become a mere paperweight. Wi-Fi calling extends your phone's coverage wherever you have a Wi-Fi connection, eliminating those frustrating dead zones. Wi-Fi calling often provides better call quality and reduced call drops because it uses a stable internet connection. Now, here's an aside. For it to use a stable internet connection, you have to have a stable internet connection. That is the one disclaimer. For international calls, Wi-Fi calling can be a cost-effective alternative to traditional cellular roaming fees. Now, let's shift our focus to the workplace. Wi-Fi calling isn't just a convenience, it's a game changer for businesses. In a busy office environment, strong cellular signals may be elusive. Wi-Fi calling ensures that important calls aren't dropped or missed. With Wi-Fi calling, employees can stay connected even when they're not at their desks, fostering a more flexible work environment. Businesses can reduce costs on traditional phone lines and make use of existing Wi-Fi infrastructure. Setting up Wi-Fi calling is often straightforward. Here we go. Ensure your device and carrier support Wi-Fi calling. Most modern smartphones, even the Androids and carriers, offer this feature. In your phone settings, navigate to the Wi-Fi calling option and turn it on. Follow any setup prompts provided. For emergency services, your phone will need to know your location. Verify your address to ensure that help can be dispatched accurately in case of emergency. Now, a quick word on security. Wi-Fi calling is generally secure as calls are encrypted over your Wi-Fi network. However, it's essential to secure your Wi-Fi network with a strong password to prevent unauthorized access. In conclusion, Wi-Fi calling is a powerful tool that empowers us to stay connected whether we're at home or in the office. It erases the boundaries of cellular networks, offering clearer calls, enhanced coverage, and significant cost savings. So if you've ever been frustrated by weak signals or missed calls, it's time to explore Wi-Fi calling. It's not just a feature, it's a bridge that connects us in this digital age. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world of Wi-Fi calling. I hope you found this episode enlightening. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to explore in future episodes, please feel free to reach out. Thank you very much. And this was Tech
This
Talk
is
Now.
Tech Talk Now.
Sam is definitely my buddy. He's over there clapping it up. We appreciate you.
Couple of things. Couple of things.
AC
But
from LA.
go ahead.
This one resonated because here at Chateau Gardner, aka the crib, if it wasn't for Wi-Fi calling, we would not have a bridge. So there you go.
Yeah.
When you live in a rural community, Wi-Fi calling can be your friend.
Yeah.
And then when you said the bridge, you already know what came into my head.
Yeah.
The bridge, the bridge, the bridge.
Right.
Yeah, I thought of
Please,
old school
yeah.
hip hop. But yeah, that was very informative, brother. Wi-Fi calling for me has been my saving grace. So yeah.
You love to hear the story.
The bridge. Yeah.
MC Shan was on. Yeah, man. That was dope. Dope segment. Dope segment.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Kudos
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So, I mean, episode 129, my goodness, 129 times on this platform. I'm so humbled by the idea that there are people who want to see this, people who watch all the time, people who listen, and that there continues to be new content to discuss. I'm very happy with my co-host over there, SG Trilogy. This podcast has been through some revolutions throughout its evolution, and I just we continue to grow as an entity, and I feel like we definitely have something special right now. And I would say we were going to close out, but we got to say something first. So go ahead, Sam, before we close out.
All right. So, man, I concur on everything that you just said. With it being episode 129, I think for me, this makes about 18 or so episodes because I think I came on right around 111.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around there.
Shout out to Dub C, 111, 111 Hoodsters. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just keep your head on the swivel when you're riding to that hood. Okay, enough of that. So, man, I really want to say that I appreciate you for allowing me to come on the platform with you. You know my passion when it comes to sports. But I think more importantly, we laugh and we have so much banter that's genuine banter. It's not just something we turn on for showtime. Like we talk every day. You're my brother. You know how much love and respect I have for you. I love your family to the utmost. And so, man, this kind of ties into it directly.
Okay.
So, over the past few weeks, we've been rocking some nice new gear.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned last week all the vibrant colors, and we've had shirts on that captured, b-boy culture with hip hop, film culture with film projects, and now we have on sweatshirts. Step back a little bit, man. Let's both step back so they can see what we're rocking today, man. Do you see what we're doing here? The Collective Podcast. You have my man AC from LA right here, myself, SG Trilogy right here, and this is bigger than a hoodie for me because what this symbolizes is brotherhood, man. As a collective, we're truly connected as brothers, man, and it's an honor. And so I say all this to say, if you have some ideas for some custom gear that you like, if you like any of the gear we've been wearing the past few weeks, you can go back and look at our podcast and check the gear. You could also buy the same gear we had on or customize something for yourself, for your loved ones. And that's courtesy of our trusted apparel partner, the world famous Closet Junkies. You can see all that they do at cratesandclosets.com. That's cratesandclosets.com, the world famous Closet Junkies. They have clothing from hats, shoes, socks, tees. They even have skateboard decks. They have everything. They're very creative, very easy to work with. And so if you want to get something done custom, if you want to order what they already have, their brand is a dope brand, a small business, and it's one that we've been rocking with these past few weeks. So check out the world famous Closet Junkies. Their official website is cratesandclosets.com. And as you can see, they have AC from LA and SG Trilogy looking fresh to death, and we appreciate it.
Bam, bam. All right. Here we go. It's time to close out, man. So let's cue it up.
Get ready for the closeout.
And you're first
New
up.
SG Trilogy.
All right. Man, I'm not even prepared for the closeout this week. So we're gonna have a quick little. Where's my theme music, man? I need that theme music to get myself in the zone for this closeout.
You want this?
No, that's too up tempo. You know what I need?
You need okay, here.
Yeah, you know what I need, bro. Come on now. We've been doing this. Oh yeah.
Oh, my bad. You want your music. Okay. Let me give you your music. Okay.
You just dropping the ball.
Hey.
Thank you. All right. For this
What's
week's
up, Dietrich?
For this week's closeout, what I want to tell you is it's important to reflect, take time to reflect, and close out your year on a positive note. You know, so many people are focusing solely on the holidays, but it's so important to focus on what you're thankful for, what you've accomplished over this past year, and look at what your new list of accomplishments are that you're going to try to aspire to try to aspire to actually feel and embrace. And I really think 2023 for me was a year of enlightenment. It was a year of solidifying friendships. And it was a year of clarity, meaning learning how to say no when there were things and people around that you didn't really see much value in. And so now as I prepare for 2024, I'm looking at this year for new challenges, but yet new opportunities. And so I say all this to say, you know, make sure that you are not limiting your success or not limiting your aspirations due to the limitations of others. And so that's it for me for this week's closeout.
New SG Trilogy.
All right. Well, we appreciate that from you, Sam. And
AC from LA.
I'm going to go ahead and close out now. And by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't do this, especially 2 days before Christmas. I just have to give you a little bit of my favorite Christmas song, especially when he goes.
Was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring.
My goodness! And then he goes, in my mind. Yo, let me go ahead. Let me see. Let's get it in. So mine will be brief. Once again, episode 129. Thank you so much. And my theme throughout this journey has been: please remember to love your loved ones. Let them know that you love them. Let them know that you care about them. Because you just never know. You know, we read about every day some moron taking people's lives because they are troubled, and you just never know. And then there are people who die from natural causes and all of that. And it's just take the time to let people know. It's just so important. All right, that's all I have. I don't have a lot this week. You guys know I love my I love my why. Kayla Sky Carter is my why. I love her to death. She's a beast on the bike now. You guys watched her little journey last week. She's now an absolute beast. So she's got a bike coming from mom and a bike coming from dad, just like that. She's the bike beast. So shout out to Kayla. Shout out to my family. Shout out to you, Sam, and your family. Shout out to our friends, both mutual and exclusive. And just know that you are loved. Thank you all for joining us on this journey, taking the time to watch today, taking the time to listen today, and any other episode that you've been involved in and that you will be involved in the future. Thank you. We appreciate you. This is the Collective Podcast. You know, I am AC from LA.
New
He
AC
is
from LA.
SG Trilogy. This was the
Get ready for the
Closeout.
closeout.
This was also episode 129 of said podcast. And we're gonna bid you adieu. And we're gonna let Tupac do it like he's been doing it since the beginning. And so we appreciate you and we out.
Let's pray.